Welcome on in to Sports Memo Today. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and pulling the Jordan flu game behind the scenes, my guy Eric, keeping us on the road here and keeping us ready to rock. You get actionable info in 30 minutes or less each and every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Sports Memo Today. And it's an all NFL edition. It's week 18 for you prop bettors out there. We got contract incentives that people are looking for. We got teams that basically could care less if they win this week. We have all kinds of playoff implications. So betting the NFL this week is going to be quite the different challenge than a week-by-week handicap. And of course, before we get into the game specifically, very happy, and hopefully you've seen as well, that there has been some positive info on that Hamlin injury front. There was talk that, he was up, at least opening his eyes and being able to be responsive, grasping the hands of family members. So as all of us NFL fans and bettors have an eye turned towards that situation, it's been nice here on a Thursday to finally have some positive info coming out of that. So positive info there, and hopefully some actionable info to get you some money here on Sports Memo Today. Two guests joining me. We're back to the usual format, and man, am I excited for both the guys we have coming on. It's the triumphant return of Nick Parsons and the Insider's Room. He's going to be batting cleanup with two NFL plays for you, both looking at some sides, and Eric Pauly, the man, the myth, and the legend with his NFL season he's been putting together without any 5-star or 10-star plays, profitable like crazy. He's got two NFL plays to get into, and we have some great deals to share with you as well. So we'll get to that in a little bit, because let's get right into it with my guy, Eric Pauly. You can find him at SportsMemo, sm.buzz/EP. Eric, always good to see you, my guy, and especially good to see you when we're talking about an NFL season that you've put together, 60, 34, and 1. Beep, boop, bop, grab the calculators. That's just shy of 64%. I know you got to be feeling good doing that well on the gridiron for your clients, man.
Oh, it's been a fantastic season. Believe it or not as good as last year. Of course, you still have a week and some playoffs to go. But no, another amazing season. And Happy New Year, Dan. Haven't talked to you since the New Year started. But looking forward to kicking it off with some Week 18 winners, get right into Wild Card Weekend. Then finally, around the Super Bowl, I can maybe get some sleep.
Absolutely, man. And we kind of joked on last week's episode, how long are you allowed to say Happy New Year to each other? Well, we're seeing each other for the first time. It's only 5 days after we've changed the calendar. I'm still writing 2022 whenever I'm writing anything out. So until I at least figure that out, we're still going to be saying Happy New Year. But always a pleasure having you on, man. And it's pretty damn good when you can talk about, yeah, I'm having a down season from last year, and you're hitting 64%. That's the Eric Pauly difference. Let's get into some of these free plays, brother. Let's start with the Steelers and the Browns. The Steelers' playoff hopes, some way, somehow, are still on life support. Mike Tomlin, one of the most impressive runs that we've seen in NFL coaching. He's looking to make it another year potentially at 500 or better. All they have to do, you just got to beat a Browns team who has nothing to play for, right? What do you think? Divisional foes, Steelers, do they take care of business? We're seeing them around a 2.5-point favorite. So already some market support going the way of the Browns. These Browns barking a little bit, or do the yellow and black get it done? What does Eric Pauly think?
So the way that I'm handicapping this game is, for starters, I got the Browns +3 for my clients. So first and foremost, if you're not on all access for not just myself, but any of the other handicappers at Sports Memo, make sure you get that all access, because if you were rolling with me yesterday, you would have gotten Browns +3, and now today you'd have to pay more juice if you were to buy that half point to get there. So in the NFL, those half points matter like no other. And then the juice you have to pay, like all that equates to negative EV at the end of the day. You need to get the bets in at the right number, at the right price as well, in order to have a season kind of like I had as well. So shout out to all my customers who are with me on the all access, that got the plays at the right time, able to capitalize on everything right away. I still do like this at 2.5 for Cleveland, because like you mentioned, they have nothing to lose, right? And I actually have a statistic here, and I'm not a trend better by any means, but this statistic does put things into perspective for teams that need to win going against a team that has nothing to play for. And those teams that need to win, you'd think, oh, well, they need to win, they're going to win. they're actually just 57 and 95 against the spread, which is a 37% mark. So maybe they win, maybe they don't. But for all we know is over the last 2 weeks of the season, they're certainly not covering the spread. Pittsburgh Steelers have been a great story. They started off playing a gauntlet of tough teams, looked kind of bad. Started off then playing a bunch of mediocre teams, looked great. And now they're going against the Cleveland Browns, who have improved a lot over the last couple of weeks of the season. Deshaun Watson seems to be in form, and Kenny Pickett in a big game. I know he's a rookie. I know he's looked great as well. I just do not trust him to cover this margin in a must-win game, because sometimes you would, again, assume that the pressure's on, the team's going to live up to the expectations, but the facts of the matter is, most of the times, they do not live up to the expectation. I know that the Browns team is tired of being a little brother to the Steelers. This is a good situation for looking toward next year. They could build some momentum with getting more reps with Deshaun Watson with this offense, and the Browns don't have a first-round pick. They're not tanking this game. They're going to be playing hard. Steelers, of course, playing hard. 3 points. Give me the field goal.
Looking towards the Browns there. And yeah, we always stress, try and get that all access. So the second that these handicappers load these plays, a lot of time you're going to see those market moves, because the CLV trophies are real here at SportsMemo.com. And you can also ring in 2023, get that all access, and get extended all access. If you buy a 30-day or more pass, you're going to get 7 additional free days. 90-day gets you 22 free days. If you buy a year all access from a guy like Eric Pauly or our next guest, Nick Parsons, you get 84 additional free days. One of the best ways to ring in the new year is ride with some profitable bettors here at sportsmemo.com. No code needed for that. All right, let's get into another team that's going to be scoreboard watching. That's the Seahawks, and it's another divisional foe facing off against a divisional foe with nothing to play for, right? What could go wrong here? Seahawks, man, one of the biggest surprises of the season. I mean, the win total, you always put out your preseason win total report that you eye, and they were sitting at 6. And now we're talking about them in playoff contention in week 18. So we're seeing anything from around 6, maybe some 6.5 still left out there. It's ticked down because we were seeing 7s, 7.5s earlier in the week as they're taking on the Rams. How are you betting this one?
Yeah, so I got in at Los Angeles +7. I would still look at the 6.5. If you can get a 7 around -120, -125, I'd look in that direction first off. But if you can only get the 6.5 at -110 odds, I would go in that direction. It's the same exact situation as the Browns and Steelers game, right? Again, I'm not betting on the trend. I'm just using the trend as context. And these are two of the situations, because there is another game that fits the same bill that I'm completely laying away from, because I just don't think it's a spot where the motivation factor for one of the teams is really going to come into play. But the Rams, they don't have a first-round pick. Baker Mayfield doesn't have a contract. He's trying to play for his life. Sean McVay wants to lay it to his division rival and Pete Carroll and the Seahawks and try to play spoiler for them. And that's kind of just the mentality that I'm going into this week with. I mean, you have to handicap, like you said, the incentives, the motivation for the players and how they're going to play. You have to also monitor the who's sitting, who's not sitting, whether because of an injury or whatnot. But I just think that while Seattle is a better team, of course, they have a really great season and what they've done has been amazing. It's a situation where 7 points, that's a touchdown. That's a lot of points in the National Football League. The Rams will not try. They're going to put out their best effort there. There's no reason for them to even consider tanking. And again, while Seattle's offense has been great this season, their defense has been up and down. I think Mayfield's able to move the ball across the field and keep this game pretty close.
Yeah, and is there anyone more excited to maybe show what he's got left in the tank than Baker Mayfield, who always feels like he's opening auditioning for wherever his next spot is going to be? So, EP, we talked about just what the season that you've been able to put together, 64%, 60, 34, and 1. If you're into, the ROI, a real true metric of how people are doing, he's almost reaching 30%, 28.9 return on investment, just NFL bets this year, getting you 45.79 units. So when people head on over to your page, which I know they're going to do, Eric, what kind of stuff are they going to find over there? And you have anything loaded for this weekend already?
I have both of those plays up and loaded already. And as always this season, if you don't have the all access, I give you that Sunday all access. So for the people who just buy the day of or the day before, you're going to get all my plays regardless. But the actual all access is the best way to go, so you can get the best number. Like you mentioned, Dan, with the, again, injuries, motivation, or the incentives also, I'm keeping my eye on some prop plays and looking at some numbers move. And this is actually a week 2 where you're going to have to look at some of the results of some of the early games or even the Saturday games before making a bet. Like, for example, Lions-Packers. If you do like the Lions, there is no reason to bet that football game until you have an understanding. Because even if the Lions, you still like the Lions, but the situation plays out where Seattle ends up winning and the Lions have no chance of making the playoffs, that line's going to shoot up and Dan Campbell's not just going to sit his guys. So you'll be able to get more value there. So a lot of patience this week also. But yeah, right now you'll be able to get my all access for this week. And as plays come in, I'll get them uploaded for everybody.
That's Eric Pauly, sm.buzz/EP. And what a season he's put together. And now playoffs are right around the corner. No better way to hop in. And as I mentioned, that all sports, all access, you try him out. You know, he gives you the weekend. He just gave you 2 free plays right there. Those are premium plays for his clients. Man of the people. Grab a 30-day or more all access. And again, get those additional free days, 23% additional days. So if you really, as long as you don't have commitment issues and you can dive in for a year all access, that's going to get you all access through March Madness. No, not March Madness this year. We're talking 2024. So you can really dive in with one of your favorite cappers and get action for a year plus. Sounds like a pretty damn good deal to me. We also have welcoming back to the program from the Insiders Room, stepping on out of the room and joining us here on Sports Memo Today. It's my guy, Nick Parsons, fellow meat smoker, fellow barbecue aficionado. Nick, it's great to have you back on. Happy New Year, man. How you been since we last talked? Things running well?
Things are going great. Yeah, we're seeing the board well here, and yeah, maybe not doing quite as good as Eric Pauly there. I mean, those were some crazy numbers, but listen,
that's tough.
I come in sporting some really great numbers, and we can get into those in a little bit.
Absolutely, man. We will be talking about those. But first, let's get right into it. This is a standalone game. Who would have thought one of the marquee games at the end of the year, final week of the NFL season, would be Jaguars and Titans? Yeah. And not only is it a standalone huge game, the Jags are favorites of over a touchdown. Yeah. We're seeing 6.5 favorites. They're going to be taking on Romeo Doubs and the Titans. And it's simple. It's a win and in game. Jags need a win or a tie to win the AFC South. And Doug Peterson, my guy, as a Philly Eagles fan, his first year as head coach, whereas the Titans, they can clinch the division with a win despite having a 7-9 record coming into this game. Vrabel as a dog man's always been a good spot. So I don't know. I'm really intrigued on hearing the handicap on this game because I could make a case for both sides.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been really high on Jacksonville over the last month as well. So, but as you said, yeah, the AFC South comes down to this: win and you're in, lose and you go home. The Jaguars, they've won 5 of their last 6, including 4 straight. Their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, he's just looked fantastic over this stretch. And then on the other side of the field, you have Tennessee. It's lost 6 straight. I guess the one thing that the Titans do have going for them here is that they last played the following Thursday. It was a loss at home against the Cowboys. And so they've had a few extra days off, and that should help players like Derrick Henry get a little extra rest here. But of course, that won't bring back quarterback Ryan Tannehill. And so, yeah, Josh Dobbs, he's going to make his second straight start here for Tennessee. And another thing to credit to the Tennessee is that they did rest basically all of their starters in last week's loss because they knew that it was all coming down to this weekend. And one additional thing that the Titans have going for them is that they do, in fact, play with revenge here. They lost 36-22 at home to the Jaguars in Week 14. This is a tough one. You know, they hung that 6.5 out there early, begging people to take the bait and bet the Jaguars there. And the early money has come in. I mean, it was majority on the early money there, but you can actually see some 6s out there now. And so some other money has come in. The sharp money has come in on Tennessee. And that's now, I do see some 6s out there. The bottom line here is, though, Dan, is that I think that Derrick Henry, he's such a polarizing figure. He's such a dominant figure, and especially in these types of big games, that he could almost single-handedly keep his team in this one. In the loss to Jacksonville, he had 121 yards on 7.1 yards per carry. And I really think that Dobbs, now it's his second week. I mean, he wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible last week. He was 20 of 39, 232 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And really, the Titans do have a good run defense. That should limit Travis Etienne this week. And overall, Jacksonville is in uncharted territory at this point. They've been fantastic up to this point, but to try to close this out and get the divisional win, I mean, you're playing against an experienced Tennessee team here that's been in the trenches, been to war over the last few seasons. I know they don't have Tannehill in there, but I just think that there's good value here on Tennessee in an upset role. I'll stop short in calling for the outright upset, but I'm going to suggest grabbing as many points as you can.
And if you're talking about ATS teams, I mentioned that this has been a good spot for Vrabel. Since he was hired in 2018, the Tennessee Titans 24-16-1 as an underdog. That's a 60% cover rate. So I got your back on that one, man. While I'd love my Dougie P to get it done, he did say he's not calling for the outright upset. So let's get this dog ticket home and let's get Dougie P back in the playoffs. Then we're both happy, my guy. So there we go. So yeah, let's talk this Falcons and Buccaneers game, because this one is another head scratcher for me. I mean, if you just told somebody, don't tell them about anything that's happening in week 18. Don't tell them about any of the situation. Just say the Falcons are favored over the Bucs to end the year. You would be saying, what year is it? Falcons are 4.5-point favorites. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the Bucs can neither improve nor hurt their playoff seeding, right? They're pretty much locked in. The question really, how much of the starters are we going to be seeing in this one? If you look at that number, it tells you the odds makers think little to none. Falcons, though, 6-10. You know, do they have motivation to finish the year off strong? They're going to go and win one for the Gipper. How are you going to be betting this game, Nick?
Yeah, I'm sort of on the latter part of your analysis there. You know, we go from one game for all the marbles to sort of a more typical Week 18 game here, where, as you pointed out, one team, the Tampa, has basically nothing to play for here. It's locked into its positioning, and the other one was eliminated a couple of weeks ago. And so, yeah, you know, in fact, Atlanta actually opened up as a 7.5-point favorite, and has since dropped to right around 4.5. So the public has actually jumped on Tampa here. But yeah, as you pointed out, they're almost assuredly going to be resting all of their starters in this game. And so for me, I'm looking at this game, and I'm just going to give it the good old eye test here. One thing I will point out before I get to my final analysis here is, though I did actually pick Tampa Bay to win the Super Bowl before the season even started. Just getting that out there. I mean, I don't feel fantastic about that wager here or anything. I mean, anything could happen. I also did give out the Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup, and I feel a bit better about that one. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to go a bit contrarian here. I think the public is wrong in this one. Tom Brady and Mike Evans, they got it all together to clinch last week. But overall, you know, this has been a really difficult season for the Bucs for varying reasons. But basically, the injury was a big one right from the get-go, right in training camp. Now, the Falcons, they're 6-10, as you pointed out, but they beat the Cardinals 20-19 last weekend. Atlanta could have thrown in the towel, the white flag, but they didn't. Yeah. They're sort of still playing strong here at the end of the season. Atlanta also plays with revenge. Lost 21-15 to Tampa in Week 5. So for me, I think that Desmond Ridder and the Falcons are the correct call here. This is their Super Bowl. They could take out the Bucs here at home on the final day of the year. And so, yeah, I think they're going to win one for the Gipper, as you say there, Dan. I'm going to suggest laying the points.
Laying the points with the Falcons. I like the draw that you drop in on that one. Man, when I was looking and getting ready for the show, headed on over to sm.buzz/TIR, because my guy Nick, also known as the Insider's Room, a great Discord channel that they bounce ideas around, get you the best plays possible that you can also check out, follow him on Twitter. I realized that you're playing with a lot of house money, man, and we're talking across 3 different sports. We got the national championship coming up. College football was good to you this year. The NFL, while you said you might not be at that 64% still have some extra money in your pocket. And the hardwood's been good to you as well, 62% over the last 30 days here. So house money, what's that all about, man? And how can people ride and get some house money alongside with you? Tell the folks.
Exactly. Yes. Really solid seasons on the gridiron in both the NFL and college football. You can check out those records over at SportsMemo. As far as the NBA, yeah, I've been hitting 62% over the last 30 days. That's number 3 in that span over at SportsMemo. And one other streak I'll bring up here. I'm sort of new to SportsMemo here. I wasn't here for the NFL playoffs last year, but one of the big sites that I was on, I was a documented 9-1 in the playoffs last year. This is a huge run that a lot of people followed along to, and so I bring that playoff run as well into the playoffs here. Can't wait.
Love to see it. The more information that Nick gets with the Insider's Room, the more winners you're going to be getting as a client. And I shared earlier that we have this great deal going with this additional 23% to ring in 2023. The thing is about that deal, you got to act quick because January 9th at midnight, the night of that college football championship, that deal's going kaput. So 30-day all access, again, gets you 7 free days. 90-day gets you 22 free days. You get it all year, all access, every sport your favorite capper releases, and you're going to be riding with them through 2024, through the end of March Madness. So a guy like Nick who does the gridiron and the hardwood and is winning at a nice clip, that's the kind of guy you want to ride with. So huge thanks to both of our experts here today, Eric Pauly and Nick Parsons. Check them out at sportsmemo.com. Take advantage of those deals that we have rocking. And if you like the show, all we ask you to do, number one, tell people about it. Hit that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe so you're never missing a show at Sports Memo TV or Wager Talk TV. And hop below in the comments. Let us know. You agree? You disagree? What's your favorite bet on the slate in Weekend 18 NFL? And that does it for us. Huge thanks to Eric behind the scenes doing a terrific job in his Jordan flu game. We're going to see you next week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, right here on Sports Memo Today.